do we support ourselves enough? Do we ever take the time to appreciate who we are and what we've accomplished in this life? I feel like too often we get bogged down in everything that's happening around us that we fail to appreciate the person who's behind it all, ourselves. And in saying that, I feel like we often encounter things in our life that we somewhat view as maybe something that could put a halt to us or stop us or, hold us back. But if you've made it to this point so far, what has really held you back? I think that a lot of life is spent in fear and expectation, in fear of an inferiority caused by, some type of societal standard that's made you think in your head that you're less than you are. When in reality, everybody's inherent value is in perspective to themselves. If the universe truly is infinite, then the center is just whatever perspective you choose to take. And in saying that, I feel like there's a difference between being like egotistically selfish and then being there for yourself. I feel like people shy away from affirming themselves, affirming their own identity, because they feel like if they do that in an outward way, it's going to come off as arrogance or insecurity. But you don't have to do it to everybody else. I feel like nobody really takes the time to tell them the things they want to hear. And I feel like that's a huge reason as to why people are still stuck. He who thinks he can and he who thinks he can't are both right. And if you constantly are telling yourself you're worse than you are, or that you're not as good as this person or that person, you're gonna constantly feel that way. You have absolutely nothing to gain in instantiating that you're less than others, and have everything to gain in instantiating that you are just as good or just as worthy of anything. People get trapped in their own ego and the way in which they project who they are into things that don't really contain them. Like judging your worth off of social media, or judging your worth off of maybe like something you do, like a sport or something like that. And then you fail in the sport, and then you take that onto yourself and feel as if you are the one who's inferior. And ultimately, that's incorrect. Everybody's inherent value is not in reference to one specific thing. And I feel like a lot of people try to value themselves on a standard that society gives. And society only values a handful of things, you know. And in consuming all that propaganda, we get lost. And I think it's important to try to make a distinction between, what society has prescribed to you and what you actually are. And I think that everybody has, some type of beauty or some type of amazingness to them. I mean, why not? And I feel like a lot of us get trapped in envy and ego and pride and aren't able to see how great other people really are. Because we think everything is in reference to us. Somebody can sing, we're like, no, they really can't. No, they're bad. We're hating on them because we ourselves wish we were that person, or deep down inside we envy that person. And I think that all that envy stems from is not realizing who you are or what you bring to the table. Assuming that just because one person is getting this type of validation out of this something they do, that's the way you have to go about it, or that's the way you have to be validated. And I think that validation comes in many ways, in people's expression of their somewhat affection and admiration and appreciation of who you are is not always going to be like overtly through words. I think that a lot of time must be taken in order to understand who you are, and understand how you can better yourself, or how you can better your understanding of those around you, so you don't need to do that. or better understanding of yourself, so you don't even need other people to validate you. I think if everybody really took the time to look in the mirror and tell themselves that they love what they see, that some of these issues would cease. It's one thing to, say that you love yourself, or say, oh, I really mess with myself, but are you really telling yourself that? In the same way that you would like to get validation from other people and hear that audibly, or maybe have it written to you, or some other facet, are you doing that for yourself? Are you doing the things for yourself that you wish others would do for you? And if not, then there may be a reason why we're so dependent on others in order to get some type of validation. Because we're not referencing ourselves, we're referencing other people's reaction to how we express ourselves. And I think that's, in the long run, just going to limit who we are. If your expression is only contained in what you're validated by, then you're only going to be exactly like everybody else. Society kind of puts you in a box, and you have to decide whether or not you're going to walk outside of that and be who you are, or you're going to conform to the way in which society is appealing. I mean, it's one thing to look beautiful or look a certain way or be a certain way in the eyes of society. Of course, that's a good thing. I mean, good for you. However, that's not necessarily a standard. Anything created by that is created by a small group of people in reference to a small group of people about a large group of people. And we're part of that large group. So there's absolutely no point in conforming. Who you are is amazing, regardless of any type of connotation that's placed upon it. Everybody has a potential for beauty, and everybody has the potential to be disgusting. And I think that's a choice of the person. Whether or not you want to work on who you are, or, fully develop how you want to go about it.
Before y'all ever even thought about it, you hear me?
And I think there's always a chance. Because we're all amazing.